Alright folks, before I get to the new moon in Cancer video for tomorrow, which I will do tomorrow after the new moon in Cancer, the second new moon in Cancer, I want to talk about this major transit that is also affecting us in the second half of this year. Now yesterday I did a video talking about the Cancer-Capricorn axis, in particular the planets in Capricorn, considering that Saturn and Jupiter are in Capricorn till the middle of December of 2020, that is one set of major players in the second half of this year. The second of these major players in the second half of this year is Mars in Aries. Mars stays or transits, goes over a sign in roughly 45 days, but Mars is going to be in Aries, fortunately a planet it rules, a sign it rules, for about 6 months, and that's because Mars is going to make its way all the way through Aries, only to stop and retrograde, and then come back to about a little bit before the middle of Aries, and then go direct again, and then make its way through. Now Mars entered Aries on June the 28th and is in Aries till January the 6th of 2021. So let me just say that again. Mars entered Aries on June the 28th, 2020, and so June the 28th Mars comes in. Mars goes retrograde on September 9th. It goes direct again on November the 14th, and on January the 6th of 2021 moves into Taurus. That is an awfully long time for Mars to stay in one sign. In many respects, and Mars's energy, we are already, in the conversations I'm having with clients and in how I see it in my own sort of experience, the menu for the second half of this year has already been laid. So I am already getting a sense of clients feeling the buildup of a sort of final pressure, so to speak, the final wave of Capricorn energy that I touched on in my video yesterday. And I'm also very much sensing the Mars in Aries energy that has come into play, a revitalization of energy, a desire to get things moving, vitality, almost impatience. I'm going to talk about Mars and Aries and those characteristics a little bit later in this video. Let me start by saying that the menu for the second half of this year has already been laid. We are arguably blessed by a couple of transits, let me use that word, that are anchoring the second half of this year and very much giving the second half of this year this sense of finishing up things that have been in play, and themes and challenges, and letting go of what needs to be let go of that has been in play, themes that have been in place since July 2018, and to prepare for a new set of themes that is gradually but increasingly announcing itself. But certainly by the middle of December of this year, we are in a new set of energies in a significant way. By the middle of December, Saturn and Jupiter move into Aquarius. On January the 6th, as I've already shared, Mars moves into Taurus. So between the eclipses, which are on the Cancer-Capricorn axis, which have been on the Cancer-Capricorn axis since July 2018, have now started to switch over, and have switched over, for all intents and purposes, onto the Gemini-Sagittarius axis. The next eclipses on November the 30th and on December the 14th will be on November the 30th, a lunar eclipse in Gemini. On December the 14th, a solar eclipse in Sagittarius. But as I explained in my video yesterday, we still have energies that are playing out on the Cancer-Capricorn axis. So even though the eclipses are done, let me remind you that the last solar eclipse was in Cancer, so starting up a roughly 6-month period of activity. That happened on June the 21st. Tomorrow, on July the 20th, we have a second new moon in Cancer, which is not an eclipse, but it keeps that Cancerian energy going. And then we have these 3 heavy-hitting planets, Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn, that are in Capricorn. So the Cancer-Capricorn axis is asking to be done and be completed and to be dealt with. And more on this, even more on this, in tomorrow's new moon on Cancer video. And the invitation, as you're getting done with this Cancer-Capricorn axis, is to prepare for the new set of energies that are coming up in Gemini Sagittarius, the first of which announced itself perhaps somewhat gently during the period of April the 5th to June the 5th of this year. That's the first set of energies that have anchored themselves and are anchoring the second half of this year, finishing up tasks related to the Cancer-Capricorn axis. The second of them is this 6-month-long transit of Mars in Aries. All the other transits that concern the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, and Venus will carry on sort of as normal. And by as normal, I mean in the second half of the year, you would expect after, in 3 days' time, the Sun moves into Leo, as it always does this year. And Mercury and Venus will not be too far behind. Mercury enters Leo on August the 4th, Venus enters Cancer on August the 7th. At the end of August, it will enter Leo. So the normal procession of the personal planets, the Sun, and Mercury and Venus will continue through Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio into Sagittarius on a timeline that is specific to 2020, but in a relatively normal way. And as these planets do so, they will continue to set up a conversation with these planets that are operating and the energies that are operating on the Cancer-Capricorn axis, particularly in Capricorn, and also with Mars and Aries. The other planets, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and that is as far as I'm going to go, have been accounted for, as frankly are Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. They're not moving out of their signs. They're going retrograde, or Uranus is getting ready to go retrograde, and they're going to go direct. They're kind of doing their normal thing. So all these anchors are in place. The second half of the year at this point in time does not present astrological surprises, although the astrology does set us up for a share of turmoil and a set of surprises. So that's something that is rare and comfortable as far as astrologically looking at the second half of this year is concerned. We are at the table has been laid, the menu has been handed to us. Mars is in Aries. We have been asked to finish up tasks related to the Cancer-Capricorn axis, particularly, Cancer, especially having the sign of Cancer, especially having prominence over the summer, in decreasing intensity, as I explained yesterday, through the 1st till August the 18th, then till October the 25th, then till first till August the 18th, then till September the 30th, then till October the 25th, and then till November the 30th. That's how the Cancer energy will wane. God, it's hard to speak. But then you've also got the Capricorn energy that remains till as long as it does. Now, Mars in Aries. Mars, as it is in Aries, is going to, at some point, when we talked about, I don't know if you remember, when we talked about the new moon in Gemini a while ago and preparing for the eclipse in Sagittarius, what was so striking about that was that we had Mars at that time in Pisces and Neptune in Pisces. And during that time, we talked about a square aspect that is set up between those planets and the Gemini-Sagittarius axis. Well, now that we've moved one sign and we have Cancer, Capricorn, and Aries, we still continue to have a square. This square, as I've described before, is that the planet that is squaring, let's just say that Aries right now is squaring Cancer and Capricorn. Mars in Aries is squaring Cancer and Capricorn. A square ends up being some sort of a deadlock that it takes a tremendous amount of energy to break out of. A deadlock of energies. It's as if a spoke is put in the wheel, a challenge is created, and we are asked to stretch somehow to make our way through the challenge, to shift a paradigm, to do something dramatic, to learn a quantum leap perhaps of understanding, a different set of actions, a call to action to break a certain pattern and a rut. Now, Mars in Aries does square the planets in Cancer and Capricorn, but the square to the planets in Cancer are not necessarily that dramatic or that intense. Now, Mercury and Mars, I think, will square up one more time. They have already squared, but the Sun is, kind of far beyond where it would square Mars. But as Mars gets ready, Mars is direct right now. In September 9th, it's going to go retrograde. November 16th, it's going to go direct. And as it goes direct and prepares to get out of Aries, is when we're going to see it square these planets in Capricorn. And by these planets, I mean Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. And specifically at that point in time, I would imagine, yeah, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. So there's a conversation set up by Mars in Aries and these eclipse finishing up activities that we're being asked to do. It is the day before the new moon, guys. So, my energy, it's just the energy of speaking and, the body, it just wants to put its feet up, and it doesn't really want to be working or doing this video. It just wants to chill out and celebrate the end of the lunar cycle. So energy, both in yesterday's video and this video, I will acknowledge, are lower. Your sort of mind and your body is just not going to be in it. That's how you're feeling today. And until the new moon, just give yourself a bit of a break. But I'm going to carry on because I really want to do this video. So Mars in Aries is the ultimate oomph placement. It gives us tremendous vitality, tremendous energy. Mars rules Aries. Mars is the male planet, the red planet, the testosterone planet, the going after what you want planet, the defending your boundaries planet, the hunter-gatherer planet, the I'm going to go out and make this happen, and what are my goals? I'm going to shoot an arrow straight into the bullseye. I'm going to provide, I'm going to stake out my claim, I'm going to defend my boundaries. And with Mars, my advice to all my clients always is, number one, wherever Mars is in your chart, a lot of energy is going to go into that part of the chart. There's just no question about it. It doesn't matter if there are 5 planets in one other part of the chart. Wherever Mars is, even if it is the single planet in that particular house, a lot of energy is going to be played out in that part of the chart. It's the energy planet. It's the vitality planet. And also, with Mars, it becomes important wherever Mars is to find the line between assertion and aggression, because, especially after Mars was in Pisces from the middle of May to the end of June, I'm telling you, as we got to June 28th and after June 28th, so many people felt this push of, all right, my energy's returned, I'm ready to go, I'm raring to go. And as I mentioned to you at the end of June and the first half of July, Venus went direct on the 25th of June, so that was one set of gates that opened. Mercury went direct on July the 12th, second set of gates have opened, and now we are in a time of forward movement. And a lot of people are feeling like, I am ready to go. Well, the place in which you should be ready to go and should be making movement is wherever the sign of Cancer is in your chart, and Capricorn is in your chart. The Capricorn side of things will take care of itself by presenting challenges that you're going to have to deal with. But you could apply a sense of rigor and discipline to whatever it is that needs to be released and whatever it is that needs to be managed, the Capricorn side of things, proactively starting now. You are certainly being asked to address twice over, with a new moon solar eclipse in Cancer on June the 21st and then a new moon in Cancer tomorrow. You are certainly being asked to address what you need to address and lean into challenges posed in the part of the chart where Cancer sits in your chart. So the house where Cancer sits and what that stands for. Get in there, slay those dragons, aim for an A+, you'll probably get a B-, but that's okay. Take that final exam, take care of what needs to be taken care of, and do what needs to be done. And you're gonna, this really, it might be a new moon tomorrow, but there's an intensity to this new moon that propels us into action. And we are given Mars in Aries, we are given the ammunition and the energy to go out there and fight for ourselves and take care of ourselves and defend our boundaries. And that, me, myself, and I'm going to take care of myself. My needs are important. I'm going to go after what I want. I'm going to take care of business attitude is somehow in conflict with, but I would argue a healthy and necessary conflict with, the energies that have been in place since July 2018 on the Cancer-Capricorn axis. So where there has been a certain amount of stagnation, where there have been challenges that seem challenging, and while we have been taking care of them, we've also been pondering how to take care of them. There's been a need to think about strategy. There's been, there might have been a certain amount of stasis. It might be a set of activities or actions or challenges that are just rolling along. Now Mars comes into Aries and has a sense of impatience about it. It's like, all right, let's go. Some of it is fatigue with COVID, some of it is fatigue with the social and political situation, but Mars's energy in Aries is what, if you're feeling like I am ready to go and kind of take no prisoners and go after what I want, that's the Mars in Aries energy that has been in place since June the 29th. Okay? And I'm sorry about the ambient noise. Sorry about the ambient noise. It's not as bad as my last eclipse video, God knows. The challenge and the conflict posed by this, particularly the planets in Capricorn, after Mars goes direct, after November the 14th, I'll touch on that again as we get to that period in time. But just know that somewhere you are being given a boost, and somewhere the energies of self-preservation and going after what you want and self-actualization and vitality are gonna somehow, the idea of going after what you want with a sense of urgency are going to be challenged perhaps by a slower tempo in the way that the signs of Cancer and Capricorn are going to they are going to want to take 6 months to finish up whatever needs to be finished up, and Mars is going to be like, I want to finish this up tomorrow. But utilize and sit on and use the energy of Mars if it gives you a certain necessary assertiveness, whether it is vitality, whether it is a desire to go after what you want. Use that to keep you moving. You're going to need that energy to keep you moving, to surmount the final set of challenges, the final exam that is posed on this Cancer-Capricorn axis. If you do not know where the signs sit in your chart and you're like, what is he talking about, Cancer-Capricorn? Well, how do I know? Think of it this way. There are certain challenges and themes that are back up to be dealt with that announced themselves in July 2018 and certainly made their presence felt in 2019 and have made their presence felt for much of 2020, and they are back to be dealt with in a big way by the end of June of this year, a couple of weeks ago, and there's an invitation to go ahead and deal with them and put them behind you, because once you put them behind you, you can move forward into newer energies. You might be feeling this instinctively. So even if you don't know where these signs sit in your chart, get going. The only problem with get going a little bit, even though the energy is better now than it has been for the past month, is that you are ready to get going, and you will be. And the menu is on the table, and the table is laid, and you're going to bring out your fork and knife, and you're going to start digging in. A number of my client meetings recently have been about, I'm ready to go, but it's not here yet. And it's like, it's actually here. It's just going to, when Mars is retrograde between September the 9th and November the 14th, between that period, Mercury also goes retrograde between October the 14th and November the 3rd. So when I've talked about a certain amount of forward movement in August and the beginning of September, Mars goes retrograde September the 9th, and then certainly a lot more forward movement after the middle of November. Mars goes direct on November the 14th till the end of the year. What I'm talking about is the fact that the personal planets are now direct. Mars is in Aries. We're being asked, our menu for the second half of this year is clear. In the middle of September, from the middle of September to the middle of November, we are going to lose vitality. We are going to have to go over certain things. We are going to be revisiting certain topics. We are going to need to slow down and reverse. This could be a do-over of certain activities with Mars in retrograde. But the thing about Mars in retrograde that I have to tell you is that invariably there's a loss of energy, there's a loss of vitality. Mars is the male planet, it's the testosterone planet, and then all of a sudden you get to a place, let me see if I can adjust this so you're not, yeah, there we go. And all of a sudden you're in a place where you just, the energy planet is, the energy goes internal, it just wants a break. It doesn't want to move that fast. Okay, let me start to bring this to a close, because this is slightly somewhat esoteric video, but I don't think it's that esoteric. You should be feeling this, and you're probably feeling this. Look, we've had a certain set of energies, an area of our chart where we've been asked to lean into and tackle certain challenges, and that is where opportunity sits, and that is where our growth sits. That has been at play since July 2018. And there's also a certain part of that's where the sign of Cancer is in your chart. There's also a part of your chart where Capricorn is, where certain energies need to be released, where there is transformation, where there's a need for a certain amount of rigor and discipline and hard work around eliminating things that are holding you back, and patterns and self-defeating behaviors and boundaries that are not right for you, that are stopping you from fulfilling your potential. And in addition, this 2020 is a year of endings and new beginnings in that part of the chart, Capricorn. My video from yesterday details this. These energies have been at play since July 2018. Since June the 28th or June the 29th of 2020, a couple of weeks ago, these themes have suddenly and surprisingly reintroduced themselves back in our life to be dealt with one final time in the 6 months, remaining 6 months of this year. Okay? Mars' presence in Aries since June the 28th is giving us the vitality, the self-interest, the fight, the energy that we need in order to go after what we want. And some of this impatience and energy is going to be challenged by the tempo, the nature of the challenges, the challenging nature of what we've got to deal with on this Cancer-Capricorn axis. But that is where the second half of this year is being played out. With Mars in Aries, harness this energy, use the sense of vitality to start making the changes. If you feel like you're aiming for something bigger and you can't make that leap, look at the smaller things that you can take care of. Use the energy of Mars in Aries to start tackling, God, help me with this sun placement. Use the energy of Mars in Aries to just take the first step and then the second step. Start making those small incremental improvements, but be very clear with Mars in Aries where you want to set your boundaries with regard to your self-interest, so you know what's going to budge and what's not going to budge. And if you need to go from assertive to aggressive, you may need to at times in order to set those boundaries, defend them, manage certain things. Be prepared to do so. Now, depending on your nature, your personality, your chart, you may be conflict friendly or you may be conflict averse. And with Mars in Aries, it's certainly a really helpful placement if you're going to be in conflict, and it's not a conflict averse placement. It's a very direct, very forthright, I'm going to put up a fight, I'm going to defend my boundaries, I'm going to go after what I want kind of placement. It's a lot of energy, and it's a good energy. The only thing, as I've said, and I will say this in summary, is that we're feeling this energy and this angst to get moving. We're feeling the energy and the angst to tackle certain things and put them to bed and move them behind us. Remember, we have 6 months to do so, although there's a need to start addressing things. There is a need to start addressing things. And I'll tell you, tomorrow's New Moon in Cancer video will be titled Urgency. But you are not going to be ready, or you're not going to feel like you have the opportunity to scale the mountain in one big go. So just start taking those small steps. And if you feel like, I want confirmation where it's in, look at where the sign of Cancer sits in your chart. Look at what house it occupies and what that stands for if you know your chart, and it will give you a sense of what you need to do there. Look at where Capricorn sits in your chart. It's the opposite placement, and understand what there needs to be released. If you were to say prioritize between the two, I would say right now prioritize Cancer over Capricorn. Lean into that and try and get that part of things a lot more managed there by August the 18th. After August the 18th, even in a couple of days, as the Sun enters Leo and Mercury follows, those planets will support this Mars energy, because the planets in Leo will support Mars in Aries. So, as you head into August, end of July, August, you're going to be given, if you feel like you're going to be given even more oomph, you are going to be given more oomph. So there's a need to start to tackle this stuff. And if it's like, well, even if it's just as simple as I'm going to carve out a certain amount of my time in my day to start addressing this, or I'm going to start tackling this, I'm going to take this step, I'm going to take half an hour today to strategize how I'm going to do this, I'm going to take half an hour every day this week, 20 minutes every day this week, to think about before I go into action how I'm going to load things out, and how I'm going to defend certain things, how I'm going to manage certain things, and how I'm going to, all of that is time and energy well spent. At a certain point in time, you will get in action. And at a certain point in time, you will be given the oomph and the vitality to tackle and deal with whatever you need to deal with. Will there be conflict? There will. Will there be challenges? There will. And will the battle be over? And not until all the planets are ready to finish everything by the middle of December and move forward, Saturn and Pluto into Aquarius and Mars in early January into Taurus. But that is meant to encourage you to think that you have time, a certain amount of time in order to tackle things. At the same time, there is a need to start to dust yourself off and go after whatever it is that you feel you need to go after. COVID is not necessarily helping, but there's plenty that can be done. With the people I have talked to, there's plenty that can be done outside of COVID. Plenty, if not everything. And indeed, certain restrictions like the COVID restrictions might actually be helpful, because they allow you to tackle certain things by not putting you on the normal hamster wheel that we would be on and the speed that we would be on if we were not in lockdown or threatening to be in lockdown or slower than normal. Okay, I hope this video was helpful. Tomorrow I'm going to do the video on New Moon in Cancer. By all means, if you want to listen to all of this again, feel free to do so. Mars in Aries, in the sign that it rules, energy, vitality, you, your self-interest, what you want to go after, your boundaries, your goals, your mission, action. Your final chance to tackle challenges that are necessary to lean into and tackle, that are part of your growth, that you have to manage, that announce themselves as early as July of 2018 and have been present since July 2018 and may even have a sense of urgency around, I've got to deal with this, I've got to put this to bed, I've got to get this, I've got to go after this, I've got to take care of this. Listen to that, pay attention to that. Look at where the sign of Cancer is in your chart. It will give you those themes. I'm repeating myself, but repetition is helpful in these videos, I find. A certain set of things that needs to be put to bed and released in the sign of Capricorn, a certain discipline that needs to be put in place to either take care of yourself better or take care of your boundaries more effectively or learn and be in action and disciplined action to create a new beginning. Pay attention to that. Priority 1, the sign of Cancer. Priority 2, the sign of Capricorn. Use Mars in Aries. The Mars in Aries part of the chart is in conflict with, it's in a 90-degree angle, it's in a square, and the square intensifies by the end of this year as the planets go out, but it's there to rev you up and give you the vitality as you take care of, on some level it could be argued, as you take care of tasks related to the sign of Aries. As you take care of tasks related to the sign of Aries in your chart and where that sits, it may liberate you and help you deal with. There's something about putting the tasks related to Cancer Capricorn to bed and dealing with them and getting them done and putting them behind you that supports, again, there's a conversation between whatever it is that you're doing in the sign of Aries and whatever you're doing in the signs of Cancer and Capricorn. One needs to be done, the Cancer Capricorn energies needs to be done to support the work that need to be done in Aries, but also the work that you do in the sign of Aries, wherever Aries sits in your chart, creates the momentum for you to get done with whatever is on this Cancer Capricorn arena. So it's almost as if you have something, if you want to be, if Mars in Aries is going to give you a much cleaner, purer energy of, I want to do this, I want to be in this place. And you will find that as you take those actions, you want to be done with some of that Cancer Capricorn energy. And as you're getting done with the Cancer Capricorn energy, it's very likely that the goals you have where Aries sit are somehow your litmus test, your lodestar, your guiding principle, your compass, your why am I doing this, your goal, your motivating factor to go ahead and put some of these Cancer Capricorn tasks behind you. Okay, I will leave it at that. Please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel, share this video if you found it useful or helpful, like it, comment on it. The likes and comments give it greater circulation on YouTube. If you subscribe to my YouTube channel, there'll be a bell icon next to the subscribe button. Click on that. You'll be notified whenever I do new videos. I'm going to do one tomorrow. My contact information is in the subject area below, so you are welcome to reach out to me if you want to find out about rates for readings, or if you want me to make an easy to read version of your chart that tells you which sign is in which house. You will need to know your birth time for that. Do not share your birth time with me just yet. Just inquire about rates to make sure you're comfortable with what I'm going to charge before you share any personal information with me. The sun loves the sign of Aries too, and I'm just going to assume, I don't know, it's just the time of day. It's a beautiful day out here in California. So happy sunshine, happy summer, happy winter for the Southern Hemisphere folks. Make it a happy winter. Let's make it a happy summer as best we can, and I will be back tomorrow. Thanks.